Watch Michael Feng try and get the W here, and we are going to be looking at a little Dorinthia action, a Prism somehow showing up in the art there. I think that's a young Prism. No, that's a Dorinthia. I understand. Look, we don't see Dorinthia all that often. I get it. But it is Dorinthia Iron Song looking to take down Lexi. And this is really interesting to see Matthew McInnis playing this Dorinthia. I think Dorinthia is a hero that has a decent matchup into Lexi.
Yeah, I mean, Dorinthia is a hero that basically demands blocks. It's one of the original Flesh and Blood heroes, one of the original 4, and it's a hero that a lot of Flesh and Blood diehards kind of know how to play against, but it is one of those heroes that's just like, hey, you gotta block my Dawnblade, otherwise it's gonna get these counters and get out of control. You really, really can't let it hit that second time, and a lot of folks will attempt to block it out the first time so they don't even have that chance to get that second block, but as you can see here, this turn's going to be rough because not only does it have Dominate, but it also has that Go Again to follow up for a, a nice little second Dawnblade. And it looks like this is turn 1. And so this is a very, very aggressive play, like right off the bat on turn 1. And it has Dominate, right? Like it's a little rough. And by turn 1, I think it is Dorinthia's, or rather, I think it's. We see 2 cards in Lexi's arsenal is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I think Michael Feng went first, which we often call turn 0.
Yes.
And now we're on turn 1 for Dorinthia here. It is Spoils of War into Iron Song Determination.
Yeah.
And, Dominate a powerful effect at all times.
Yes, for sure.
Into Lexi, I think it's even better. I mean, we do have a little bit more access here. And I do want to point out Michael Feng's equipment suite here. There is the Hornet Sting. There is the Perch Grapplers.
Yes.
So Feng ready to do some defending with that equipment suite. The question is, are you doing it on turn 1?
Yeah.
Like, do you actually want to give up these cards right now? And I also wonder, too, like, look, Michael Feng, one of the best players in the world, in discussion for actual best player
No question.
in the world.
Yeah, for sure.
However, you just don't see that many Dorinthias around. And the vast majority of your practice reps going into events like this, they're not going to be spent on preparing for Dorinthia. Now, that being said, I know Michael knows Dorinthia.
For sure.
He is willing to play this matchup. Does he have the same number of reps as he has in the Mirror, into Icelander? Absolutely not. That would just be foolish, quite frankly. And we do see 2 pieces of equipment committed here on this first Dawnblade attack.
Full 6 block here, yeah. And then we have a reveal.
Yep, Frostlock is going to bring the damage.
Yep, that is an arrow, for sure. Even though it does look like an ice card, it is elemental arrow. Yeah. So like I said, I think this is one of the situations playing against Dorinthia. Getting that first block is really important, right?
Yep.
Because you don't really know what they're going to do on the second block, and you don't want to give them that reaction advantage, because that's what Dorinthia really, really leans on. It has like these cards to pump up your Dawnblade, both non-attacks but also reactions, and that's one of the scariest parts about playing against Dorinthia is her like surprise, kind of gotcha with those reactions.
Those reactions can be terrifying, and just business as usual for Michael Feng is able to have that Winter's Bite ready to go in the arsenal. Looks like a blue, so it's going to cost a resource to pay for. McInnis is going to go ahead and pay for that. Arctic Incarceration is the follow-up here.
Interesting.
So 4 Frostbites for McInnis, and that is almost certainly going to eat up a vast majority of the turn. At the same time, though, no offensive output, really.
Yeah, interesting turn.
Like Michael Feng.
Going for like more of a control kind of thing instead of shooting off a single arrow at all.
Yeah, slowing down the pace a little bit.
But, I mean, 4 Frostbites against Dorinthia is like pretty good. I mean, Dorinthia isn't known for being a deck that runs a bunch of blues. It's a fairly heavy on like the reds. You have a lot of like red attack action, non-attack actions that pump, as well as those resources here. So yeah, just kind of gonna eat that turn. The 4 is kind of a big deal.
All right, I'm handed some breaking news. This is not Matthew McInnis in the feature match area. I understand it says that. It's a lie. It was all a ruse, Kel. This is actually Kyle McKaga, I believe his name is pronounced.
Okay.
Unfortunately, these graphics are locked because we are doing a backup time-shifted match here, so we're unable to change that. We'll give Kyle his props, though. That's not Matthew McInnis. That is Kyle piloting Dorinthia, trying to take down defending Pro Tour champion Michael Feng.
Perhaps Matthew is really playing Prism somewhere else. We do have Kyle here playing Dorinthia. And on the Lexi side, we see perennial Lexi favorite, Bolt and Shot, into a nice little... only 2 go again.
Yeah, blue Lightning Surge. Again, I'm just seeing more blues today than is typical. Activation of Quiver here. This is a rough start for Michael Feng. Like, there's a lot of resources being burned, and not what you want to see just kick off your round 1 here at U.S. Nationals.
Only a couple turns in, burn the Quiver, burn both, like 2 pieces of equipment. He'll be able to, go into this turn with, at least a card in his arsenal. So that's not nothing. But depending on what he follows this up with here. So it looks like, I think it's still Michael's turn, right?
Yep.
Just cleaned up the chain.
Yeah, it looks like potentially a Codex in hand. I wonder if maybe just an awkward hand that did not line up particularly well with his goals. It is time to go ahead and use that Tunic counter. Going to have an activation of Voltaire.
He has that extra arsenal slot because of the New Horizon. Love seeing Lexi make maximum use of this. So we do have this drill shot. It is another blue.
Yeah, lots of blues from these Lexis thus far. It is going to be blue drill shot fired off.
Is it just an easy block with
Courage,
this Iron Song? Yeah.
Courage ready to go. And, of course, that piercing not active without the aim counter. So just a clean block here. A no-brainer block, I would say.
Yeah, it's just snap block that, right? Don't want it to hit, don't want to debuff the equipment, and it just cleanly blocks it. Michael here is debating whether or not he wants to fire off that Bolt and Shot. This is also a blue Bolt and Shot as well. Yeah,
so just a massively blue-loaded hand, and now that Quiver activation makes a lot of sense. Michael Feng just saying, please give me some offense. I'm sick of all these blues. And, an awkward start thus far from Lexi. I wouldn't say a bad start. Everything's still moving along, still going fine. Had some disruption along the way. But now Dorinthia kind of getting to do her thing. It is going to be Spoils of War into Steel Blade Supremacy into Dawnblade, pushing a lot of damage here. And, of course, that uncertainty that comes so readily along with everything that Dorinthia does.
Yeah, I mean, this threatens, like, card draw, which is pretty nasty, right? Doesn't have Dominate or anything like that, but this is 7 with a card draw threat on hit, which is, here we see a full block, right? You definitely have to block here. But it does have Go Again, so, you can follow that up with, here we have.
How about just a little pump, a little Iron Song response getting in the mix?
Did block from hand, so Reprise is active, and this is what color is this? Even if it's
it looks like a red, so we're just pumping that up to 10. Has a trap ready to go from Arsenal, so I believe that's the Frailty trap.
This is the trap that you definitely want against Dorinthia.
Yeah.
That Frailty is pretty rough against any hero that attacks with weapons, basically.
I'm counting out the block here. I think we ended up with a clean block in that case. So thus far, Feng prepared for Matthew McInnis' tricks, not getting caught by them, not really having the offensive output yet, but that's fine. Dorinthia doesn't really build up over turns unless she's putting counters on that Dawnblade, and thus far, Feng has done a remarkable job of keeping counters off the Dawnblade.
Yes.
It is going to be a Codex activation here.
And it's like, once again, that Frailty is really, really nasty against Dorinthia. Like, just getting that -1 on all of your attacks, all of your weapon attacks, is really, really tough. Like, coming in for two base is not where you want to be. So, like, you're looking at this arrow here, and, as the Dorinthia player, I'm not sure if you even want to block this, right?
Doesn't seem like it. Again, no on hit, just a quasi 5, of course, 4 direct damage plus the 1 on top. The Ponder token was coming anyway, so I think you just let it go. Try and put together a nice turn here. You're going to want some extra cards in hand to try and account for that Frailty. And as most Dorinthia turns do, we start off with a Dawnblade.
So
just 2. What could go wrong, Michael? There's no risk here. Just a fine 2.
This is what I like to call a naked Dawnblade. It has no buffs, nothing. In fact, it is less than that because it is debuffed from that Frailty token.
Yep.
So it's just a Dawnblade casual, just coming in for 2.
And now on Michael's side, you need to piece together the puzzle. There were no blocks, so this isn't a bunk hand. Otherwise, you would have committed cards.
3 cards.
You have to figure out exactly where the breakpoints lie, how much you're supposed to block for, how many cards you're supposed to put in on this first attack, so you're not facing that second really threatening attack from the Dawnblade.
Yeah, it's one of the classic, like, Dorinthia conundrums, right? Because if you block with a card from hand, then you activate Reprise. But if you just take the hit, then Dawnblade will be able to be activated and attack, use the second time to attack with. You do still have equipment like the boots on Dorinthia's side to give go again, like onboard go again. So, yeah, I mean, like just a naked Dawnblade doesn't look threatening, but it's actually like quite threatening. And Michael's debating, what do I want to commit to this? Looks like it's just a 3-block here.
Yep, single card. It is going to be Glint the Quicksilver coming down.
Go again, draw a card. Very, very nice.
Not bad.
Doesn't hit, though, so it's not,
Doesn't hit yet, but
yes,
we do have a puncture here.
Yep.
And we're always open for debate on whether cards are going to hit or not.
It's a good call. We are still in the reaction step, so you can continue playing, reactions. And so, drawing that card, seeing what your available options are. Once again, one of the big powers of Dorinthia, being so, kind of sneaky, right? Sneaky before the Assassins came into play.
Yeah, Dorinthia feeling almost like the original assassin.
Yeah, and that... All right, so here we have, if you're not familiar with this card, this is going to give a +1 to the next weapon attack here. So this is bringing Dawnblade up back to where it was, coming in for 3. Now this attack is especially threatening because it threatens an additional counter.
Yep, and you see Feng not even hesitate.
Yeah.
Puts 2 cards in front of that 3 attack. Can't afford to go ahead and let that pump come through. You kind of know what you could potentially face in that spot. So a nice clean block from Michael Feng. And again, we knew Michael was going to be able to play this matchup. I didn't expect anything bordering on uncomfortableness from Michael Feng. I just wanted to highlight maybe a matchup that he hasn't played a ton of times, but looking very comfortable thus far playing against Dorinthia.
And I think it's like the opposite may be true, where Kyle has a lot of experience playing against Lexi. And you see those blocks where he's just like, I'm going to snap block this drill shot. I know exactly what to do here.
Yep.
We have another, Dawnblade go again. Like this is we're going to see this a lot, right? You're just going to give your Dawnblade go again. You're going to threaten some shenanigans from your hand and let it all rest on, hey, Michael Feng. He's like, I'm going to present you this Dawnblade, and what would you like to do? What would you like to do here?
Yeah, it's like glistening steel blade going to be the threat this go around. Added on to that Dawnblade.
Yeah, and with 3 cards in hand, 1 resource floating.
A lot of uncertainty again.
It's
a lot of uncertainty.
It's always, that looming threat. We do have a 3-block, so, an attempt to cover it up, right? Lexi not famous for playing a ton of reactions, but we do have is this a Spillblood coming out?
Out for blood.
Out for blood.
Yep. That is going to go ahead and get that first Dawnblade hit. Means we're looking at a little go again. And this ability to attack a second time.
Yeah, and if you don't know, this is a card from Crucible of War that pumps up your weapon attack, but also pumps up a subsequent weapon attack as well.
Yeah, so this Dawnblade, the second Dawnblade attack, going to look pretty threatening here. Twinning Blade going to be the pitch. And we have 5 coming in with the addition of that counter. 2 cards immediately fired off from Michael Feng and does have a puncture ready to go.
Oh, no.
And this is where things can start getting out of hand very quickly. We move to 8. It is going to hit, and that means a second counter on that Dawnblade. Excuse me, a third counter on that Dawnblade. Of course, the Glistening Steel Blade was active on this turn. So Feng now in the blender. This is where things can get very, very scary on the Lexi side. But an incredible, incredible arsenal here. It is Arctic Incarceration going to be flipped, going to give 4 Frostbites. And if you're McInnis, you are begging, please let me see 2 blues in this hand. Please, I need this. I need this desperately.
Kyle he just needs blues, right? Like, this Dawnblade needs to hit, because if you don't know, if you're not familiar with Dawnblade, it loses all the counters at the end of the turn if it didn't do any damage at all.
And so, I think that was 2 blues.
I think so, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe
it was.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. So now the threat is real from Kyle. I'm sorry, I keep saying Matthew. I apologize, Kyle. My graphics are tricking me. I will give you all your flowers if you were able to take down defending Pro Tour champion Michael Feng with this attack 4-6 from this Dawnblade. And just think about if you're in Feng's seat. If you haven't played much against Dorinthia, how hard this position is. Any pump that comes over the top of that is just disastrous for you, because that means those Dawnblade counters stick around. You have a real problem on your hand. Going to go ahead and commit 3 cards here, praying, hoping this is enough to stop this Dawnblade from hitting.
Yeah, you basically need to stop it from hitting, because you can't attack with it a second time if it doesn't hit. And here we have another attack action or attack reaction.
Yeah, Stroke of Foresight coming down. Going to get an additional card.
And so this is going to give a nice little pump, and also with the reprise, get some card selection there.
But it does the job. It was a successful defense from Michael Feng. Certainly a sweat there, but was able to make it out of his most dangerous turn thus far.
That's exactly what he needed. He was just praying, like, I need to block out this Dawnblade because this is, like, unsustainable, right? Like, Dawnblade with, like, 1 counter is so dangerous, but Dawnblade with 3 is nuts, and he has a really, really nice follow-up to that, too.
This is such
a 3 of a kind.
A great strategic moment from Michael, because this is sort of the evolution of 3 of a kind. 3 of a kind for a long time talked about as a card that could lead to massive offensive output. Go ahead and just create these virtual 6-7 card hands out of nowhere. But where it actually shined, especially at the last Pro Tour, was as a quasi-defensive card. And what that means is on the last turn, Michael was able to commit 3 cards to defense, stop that Dawnblade. But now, with the help of 3 of a kind, has a potent offensive turn as well. Heat Seeker at the ready. If that hits, that's going to lead to the next turn. And this is how Michael Feng reclaims the tempo and goes ahead and asserts Lexi's dominance over Dorinthia. I think this is a real turning point for Michael Feng in this matchup. The last 2 turn cycle, being able to defend out that Dawnblade, get the 3 of a kind here. Feng quickly getting to a place of that Lexi privilege, as you mentioned, Cal.
Yeah, and I'm actually looking at Kyle's hand, and I see a really spicy card, actually. I see a Heart of Fiendo.
Okay.
So we do have a no block in Kyle's hand. It looks like he's just going to toss in the Refraction Bolters there, just going to block up 1.
That's going to let the Heat Seeker do its thing.
Yeah, and Michael's just going to pass on up.
Okay.
I mean, you knew it was going to be a less aggressive turn when you see the Rain Razors pitch, right? I think that's telegraphing, like, hey, I'm not giving this go again. I'm just going to give it +1, and I'm pitching a Rain Razors.
Yeah, fair enough. And also, without the benefit of things like Snapdragon Scalers, did have to go ahead and use those Perch Grapplers critically as well. I'm certainly happy to have those instead of the Snapdragon Scalers in this matchup. There we see the Heart pitch. That is going to do its thing, gain a life.
Yeah.
Time for a little Dawnblade action, backed up by Steelblade Supremacy.
And once again, Steelblade is a very, very nice non-attack. It's just going to give a +2, but it's also going to threaten to allow Kyle to draw cards on hits, which is very, very nice. Drawing cards is fantastic in any card game, but in Flesh and Blood it feels very nice.
So if you're a Michael Feng here, the baseline is 2 cards, right? You're committing 2 cards on this attack because you do not want to give that free card.
Yeah.
Or it looks like just going to go ahead and take it here.
That's scary, actually.
It's like very scary.
If you're Kyle, you're like, oh no. What does he have in his hand?
Because Dorinthia may do some setup here, may end up with a couple counters on that Dawnblade in a decent position. Dorinthia's not going to pop off for 28 damage, though. That's just not what Dorinthia does. So Michael Feng, on the other hand,
Lexi, though,
he could drop 22 on you in a heartbeat, and with a bolt and shot face up in Arsenal, you have to be fearing that a little bit right now. It is going to be hit and run, pumping up this Dawnblade. 7 headed the way of Feng.
He does have go again on it, but this is the second attack from Dawnblade, so Dawnblade will not be attacking again unless we have a Twinning Blade, yes.
Don't see one.
I do see some,
a route.
That's a nice little pump there.
Yeah. So the damage is being maximized here.
Yeah.
But it's just damage, Kel. I mean, it may count for a counter as well on a future turn. That could be good. But on the whole, I don't know if that's going to be enough from the Dorinthia.
Yeah, and I think Kyle also had a was it Iron Song Response in hand, the one that doesn't have an effect unless Reprise is active. And since Michael didn't block, it doesn't do anything.
Perfect timing thus far from Michael Feng on all decisions, frankly. But times to block, times not to block, how much to block for. It's just been played perfectly thus far, as you would expect from a Pro Tour champion.
Yeah, and then Michael going into a 6-card hand here, activating Lexi. Here's a Frostbite, here's some Disruption, but also, I still have 4 cards in hand, threatening potentially a ton of damage.
Yeah, Warrior's known for their fridge, but Kyle has burned through said fridge at this point, and
his fridge is out of here.
Yeah, you're mostly going to be blocking from hand, and you're going to be blocking with 1 less card because you're going to pay with that Winter's Bite. So now 3 defensive cards versus Alexi, and that is now playing 3 of a kind. And, Cal, this game could be over. This literally could be the end of the game on this turn if Michael Feng finds the right pieces here. That bolt and shot ready to go. Something like a Rain Razors would be absolutely massive.
So I would like to note, keep in mind, everyone, you draw 3 cards from 3 of a kind. However, there is a significant drawback. you are not able to play cards from hand.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
So that means no codices,
no rain razors.
that kind of stuff. However, we do still have a pretty strong card here coming in with Go Again. This is a Battering Bolt. It's going to have a full block. As you know, you got to respect the Battering Bolt. Battering Bolt is a card that deals damage based on basically reactions and that kind of stuff in hand.
Second battering.
The same Battering Bolt, also with Go Again.
Yeah, a little Go Again here, and then that means the turn's just going to close probably with that Bolt and Shot. Don't think there's any way that Bolt and Shot could get plus offense.
Yeah, it would be like a... he could do it if he just wants to play out his Bolt and Shot to pump a little bit of damage through. What color is this?
I think it's a red.
It's a red. It's coming in for 4, and like that's not nothing. And chipping Kyle down to 12. We talked about like lethal range for Icelander in the last match, but like being around 10 against Lexi is scary.
Scary. I do think this game is very close right now, Kel.
Agreed.
A Dawnblade with a counter on it is still threatening. This almost demands 2 cards from hand. I mean, 2 cards or a piece of equipment, I think, is the ask here from Michael.
Yeah.
Only playing with 3 cards back on the next turn. The pace is kind of neutral right now. I would say it's not swung decidedly out of Dorinthia's favor.
I agree. It's a little bit of a back and forth. Michael still has 2 of his most important pieces of equipment on board, right? So he has a little bit of a block there. But I agree. It's a nice little back and forth. And this Dawnblade, just 1 counter, like I said, is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, and it looks like it is going to go ahead and hit in this instance.
Doesn't look like it had Go Again or anything like that.
No way to give the Dawnblade Go Again. Does it maintain that counter, importantly so.
Not what you'd like to see from on your as a Dorinthia player. No Go Again is sad for your Dawnblade. But hey, here's a Go Again on a drill shot. This is actually kind of an awkward drill shot because it is threatening another -1 counter on those gloves. So I don't see a situation where these gloves don't get into block. But
I've been surprised before, though, Cal. Anything could happen.
I've been frequently surprised, personally. It looks like Kyle's taking stock, perhaps counting the number of power cards.
Yep.
Perhaps specifically Rain Razors in this situation.
I think so. I think that's a good call. That would be a card I would be very concerned about. Remorseless is the face-up card.
That's a spicy
Arsenal
one
for Michael.
So we have a full block here, 3 and 1. It looks like we're gonna have just immediately a second activation. He's just gonna shortcut it, just Go Again here on this Searing Shot, threatening 5, right? Not a particularly strong on-hit effect, but damage is damage here.
Yeah, you could consider eating this one if you're in Kyle's seat. Maybe save some defensive cards for that Remorseless.
Yeah, I mean, like, personally, I'm the kind of player who would probably just take this, right? Because like, if it's a back and forth game like this, we're just kind of throwing, right hooks, one after another. I'm like looking at my hand. If I think I can push the damage, then I'm like, you know what? I'll take this and then push some damage back at you, and hopefully take some cards off of you.
I actually think the biggest problem that Matthew has right now is that equipment over on Michael Feng's side. I think it would be very easy for Matthew to go ahead and seize the tempo were that equipment not present, but there is 3 blocks still remaining on Michael's side. And when things are so close like this, when Dorinthia is so reliant on breakpoints, I think that is the thing that is really preventing Kyle from going ahead and taking charge of this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's big, and also like Michael's still able to leverage the effects of his equipment. I think just being able to preserve them this late into the game is really, really big. Notably, blocking with the New Horizon can be very detrimental in certain circumstances. But
absolutely.
Ooh, that's a spicy card.
Burdens
here.
of the past coming down from the Dorinthia side. And look, I think that card is quite good. Pretty narrow in this matchup.
Actually.
But, it is a blue. It defends for 3. That's completely fine.
Yeah, Burdens of the Past basically cares about defense reactions, and I don't imagine Lexi playing many of those.
Yeah, we did see those traps come down.
That's true. That's true.
I doubt there's much beyond that. Now, here's an attack for 4, 2 resources floating, card in hand, card in arsenal. That tells a big story.
Yeah.
If you're on Michael's side, you have to ask exactly what that story is. Understand how you're going to respond to it.
I think you have to respect this. Like, you can't just ignore it. It's only 4, but it's also, like, not only 4, right? Yeah. So we do have a reaction here. This one will not have reprise, so he doesn't get the advantage out of that, but he pushes 7 points of damage.
Yeah, I think it's about damage in this instance. Like, that was a pretty clean play there from Kyle. And Feng at a now dangerous 7. Let's see what the fireback is. It is going to be a Falcon Wing to start things off, and I believe 1 card in hand beyond this. No, excuse me, 4 cards.
Yeah.
Never mind. That's a completely different ballgame.
It's scary, yeah.
Yeah, if you're in the Dorinthia seat, you're sweating.
Yeah.
You're sweating those bullets.
Michael's just like, I'll take the damage, and I'm going to have a 5-card hand.
There's a Rain Razors in hand, too, and that gives
Oh,
Michael
no.
not only the element of surprise, but just the element of numbers.
Yes, the element of damage.
Yes.
My favorite element.
Rain is going to be pitched here. Just going to be hamstring shot, loaded up with go again.
So he's going for the wide rather than the tall here. Yep. And, I don't hate that.
Yeah, maybe a bit of a resource light hand, possibly really reliant on that yellow pitch. A little bit more damage coming through for Kyle. Dorinthia playing this one close thus far.
I wouldn't be surprised if it is a very red heavy hand, because we did see a lot of blues at the start.
It was all reds, and that makes perfect sense. And it is a no block hand from Kyle, and that is going to get the fist bump. That infecting shot able to come through for lethal out of